Welcome to Sabbath School Lesson Key Points. Lesson 1, Paul's Ministry in Corinth. Memory text. One night the Lord said to Paul in a vision, "Do not be afraid, but speak and do not be silent, for I am with you, and no one will lay a hand on you to harm you, for there are many in this city who are my people." Acts chapter 18, verses 9 and 10. The great missionary William Carey used to say, "I cobble shoes to pay my expenses, but my real business is winning souls." Paul the Apostle would have understood that completely. He stitched tents for a living, but his real business, his every breath, was Jesus. This week, we step into one of the most dramatic chapters of his life, his mission to the wild, wealthy, and wrecked city of Corinth. To understand Paul, you have to understand his identity. He didn't wake up one day and decide to be an apostle. He was called, chosen by God from his mother's womb, just like the prophet Jeremiah. He had seen the risen Christ on the road to Damascus, and that encounter shattered his old life and rebuilt it around one blazing center, Jesus. Paul opens every letter by declaring who he is, an apostle of Jesus Christ by the will of God. For him, apostle didn't mean prestige, it meant being sent. Sent to serve, to preach, to teach, and to suffer. He couldn't stop talking about Jesus. In the first 9 verses of 1 Corinthians, he mentions Christ 9 times. He was utterly consumed. But before Corinth came Athens. Paul had been run out of Berea by angry mobs, and he arrived in Athens bruised and waiting for his friends. While he waited, he couldn't keep quiet. He debated philosophers on the Areopagus. He quoted their poets. He pointed them to the unknown God who rose from the dead. A few believed, but most sneered. Paul left Athens with little fruit and a heavy heart. Then he reached Corinth. Corinth was a different beast entirely. It was a boomtown, a Roman colony rebuilt by Julius Caesar, stuffed with wealth, 2 bustling harbors, and people from every nation. It was strategic. Paul knew that if the gospel took root here, it would spread across the world. But Corinth was also a sore of corruption. The city was crammed with idols, Apollo, Athena, Aphrodite, and Egyptian gods like Isis. Religious pluralism was everywhere. Sexual immorality was so woven into daily life that the temple of Aphrodite was infamous for ritual prostitution. Idolatry and lust were the air the Corinthians breathed. And into that toxic atmosphere walked Paul, a tent maker with a cross-shaped message. He started where he always started, the synagogue. He reasoned with the Jews from the scriptures, proving Jesus was the Messiah. Some believed. But many opposed him with venom. They reviled him, defamed him, and tried to destroy his reputation. Paul was discouraged. In fact, he was terrified. He later admitted he came to Corinth in weakness, in fear, and in much trembling. He had been chased out of Berea. He had failed to move Athens. And now, facing fierce hostility, he thought about leaving Corinth altogether. He began packing his bags, convinced this city was a waste of time. But then, in the dead of night, Jesus himself appeared to him in a vision. And the Lord said, "Do not be afraid, but speak, and do not be silent, for I am with you, and no one will lay a hand on you to harm you, for there are many in this city who are my people." Those words, echoing the great promise of Isaiah, "Fear not, for I am with you," changed everything. Paul realized this wasn't his mission, it was God's. God already had a harvest waiting in Corinth, people Paul hadn't even met yet. So he stayed. And the fruit came. Crispus, the ruler of the synagogue, believed with his whole household. Many Corinthians heard, believed, and were baptized. A church was born, messy, immature, but alive. After Paul left, trouble followed. He received reports of ugly divisions, factions forming around different leaders. There was sexual sin, lawsuits among believers, and chaos in worship. Paul wrote letters, passionate, tear-stained letters. He wrote to correct, to plead, and to call them back to the cross. He even wrote what scholars call a severe letter, that caused him great anguish because he loved these people. He wrote with much affliction and anguish of heart, and with many tears. His letters are not cold theology, they are the cries of a spiritual father who would rather die than see his children wander from the truth. So what is the lesson for us? First, know your identity. Paul knew he was called, and that anchor kept him from quitting. Second, listen for God's voice in your fear. He may be telling you to stay because he already has people waiting for you. Third, keep the cross central. Paul resolved to know nothing among the Corinthians except Jesus Christ and Him crucified. That same message is our power today. And finally, love deeply. Paul's letters were born from love, love that spoke hard truths, love that wept, love that never gave up. The promise that sustained Paul is yours today: do not be afraid, for I am with you. In your city, in your neighborhood, God has people waiting to hear His voice. So speak. Do not be silent. And know nothing among them but Jesus, and Him crucified. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. God bless you. Shalom.